Hey everyone, welcome to my brand new YouTube channel. My name is Adrienne. I also go by Miss Philomena on various places online. I will link both my Blogspot and my Instagram so you can find me there. I am here to do the Costumers Quarantine 20 Questions Challenge, which was issued by Robin, aka So Loud, who is a very dear friend of mine, and I want to thank her for giving me this extra little push to finally start doing this. So let's dive right in. What was my first costume? My first, well, the first thing I made that was costume-like was when I was 12 years old. Simplicity had a super knockoff pattern that was the Gone with the Wind barbecue dress. So I made that entirely by hand because at the time I didn't use a machine. So it was fully hand sewn out of Simplicity, the Symphony broadcloth from Joann's, which was at the time 99 cents a yard. It is not 99 cents a yard anymore. And I was afraid of zippers at the time. So rather than put a zipper in it, I just sewed the back seam up, and the only way to get in or out of the dress was with hooks and eyes right at the shoulder. And as you can imagine, that meant that there was no possible way for me to actually put this dress on. So yeah, there are no photos of that for good reason. What I consider my first actual serious costume though is the red bustle gown that I made in 2008. And it was the first thing I made fully skin out with the corset and the lobster tail bustle underneath it and everything. So what is my favorite costume I've made and what am I most proud of? My favorite costume would have to be the yellow sheer bustle gown I made in 2012. That one is so much fun to wear and I really love it. The one I am most proud of though is the checked jacquard silk dress I made for Gettysburg in 2017. The fit of the bodice, the way the sleeves came together, the whole look of it, I am so happy with how that outfit came out and I just love and adore it. What costume do I dream of making? Like many costumers, my dream costume is from a Tissot painting, but it's one of his earlier ones called The Fireplace. So it's not one of the natural form, it's a much fuller dress. What is a sewing task I love versus a sewing task I hate? I really love planning stuff, and I have so many secret Pinterest boards because I fall down a Pinterest hole and I make all kinds of boards, and I may or may not make what the ideas are for, but I still have fun just collecting ideas. What I hate is finishing stuff, and by finishing I mean usually putting on closures. I have so many skirts that rather than a hook and eye at the waistband, there's just a safety pin. And the yellow sheer bustle I mentioned, yeah, I made it 8 years ago and it still doesn't have buttons or buttonholes in the bodice. I just pin that shut when I wear it. Would I rather sew wool or silk? I actually like both. I don't have a problem with either one. I don't work with wool as often because generally it's impossible to find fun wool. It tends to only be plain colors and usually drab. So I tend to gravitate more towards silk simply because it has more variety. Would I rather go to a themed event or a pick your own theme event? I like themed events because, like everyone else, I like the immersion and cohesiveness of everyone dressed to one general goal. Would I rather attend a big ball or an intimate dinner? I like both. I'm definitely an introvert, so if I'm going to be doing an intimate dinner, I want it, an intimate dinner with my close friends. I also will occasionally attend things by myself, so for that, I would much rather it be a big event where I can kind of get lost in the crowd rather than being, the one lone outsider. Do I prefer to machine sew or hand sew? I I like both. It really depends on what I'm working on. If I'm doing, basically anything post what 1830s, if I can machine sew it, I will machine sew it. Um, Obviously, I try to keep all of my finishing by hand, um, and hemming and such. But yeah, I'm fine with doing both. Uh, they each have their own place within my costuming closet. Do I like wigs, hair pieces, or my own hair? I get headaches really easily, so I don't like adding any extra weight. And I feel like wigs get too heavy, so I don't like using full wigs. Um, on the other side, my hair is super, super fine and really, really straight. So I prefer to do a blend of my own hair and hair pieces. Um, I have over the years gotten a lot better at styling my own hair and knowing what I can do to make my hair work better within a style. But yeah, it's just women in the past, it was totally cool for them to, use false hair pieces. So I, some of those past hairstyles are impossible to achieve with just one's hair. So I have no problem using hair pieces. Name 5 small businesses I love for costume things. For businesses that are actually run by costumers, I'm going to say LBCC Little Bits, um, Virgil's Fine Goods, and Timely Tresses. And then I have 2 other businesses I would like to include. Um, Alice in Stitches Art on Etsy. I get a lot of silk yarn from them, reeled mulberry silk mainly, anywhere from a lace weight to a worsted weight that I've been using a lot for both knitting patterns like knitting and crochet, as well as doing some medieval like card weaving. And the last business I want to mention is called Dundee Dog 13, also on Etsy, and I've gotten some absolutely fantastic leather from them. All right, we're halfway through now. Name 5 YouTubers. So I'm gonna say, again, LBCC, they have some really fun hair stuff, hair videos. I'm probably gonna pronounce this wrong, but Lopsy, she does a lot of hair tutorials as well, a mix of modern, actual historical, and fantasy and historically inspired stuff. And I'm going to say Gilded Garb because she's a new YouTuber as well. And then I'm also going to include 2 that aren't strictly costume, or costume at all, I should say. OSP, Overly Sarcastic Productions, and Extra Credit. They both do a lot of history-related content, so I really like watching their videos. Favorite color? I like all colors. I don't want to pick just one. That being said, I do tend to gravitate towards like warm and golden yellows, like my sweater. And I feel like I also have a lot of like olive green and mossy green stuff, but yeah, no, I like all colors and I'm not gonna limit myself. Pearls or sparkles, both. I really like these pearl earrings I got from Dames a la Mode because they work for modern, just earrings, as well as historic stuff, but I also love my sparkles that I've gotten from Taylor too. What is a costume trip I've dreamt of making? I would have to say the Jane Austen, the big Jane Austen celebrations they have in Bath sound like so much fun. Especially if I got to go with a group of friends and it wasn't just me going by myself for that. And Regency was definitely much easier to take transatlantic than anything, pretty much anything earlier or later. It packs down much smaller. What is my favorite cocktail? Amaretto Sour. Who is a costumer I would love to meet? So before I actually started making my own costumes, for a very, very long time, I followed a lot of people online and their costuming adventures, and my 3 favorite people to follow were Jenny LaFleur, Koshka the Cat, and Festive Attire. I have since actually met both Jenny Rose and Catherine, and I would like to say that they are my friends. I would like to consider them my friends. So the only person that I was always referred back to that I haven't met yet is Jen Thompson, so I hope that'll change someday. All right, plain or patterned? Patterned stripes and plaids, absolutely my favorite. I also like printed stuff for Regency. I've done a few Regency printed dresses, as well as one of my up there costumes, but not like at the top of my list, is the printed lawn natural form gown I made a few years ago. And the nice thing about prints that you can't even really do with stripes or plaids is you can fudge a little bit with prints if things aren't quite perfect, especially if it's a small busy print. Details disappear, but so do mistakes. All right, using a pattern or making my own. I have taken classes up at FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology, to learn how to draft patterns. So I have no problem drafting my own. Generally what I do is I will start with a pattern, and then I will, like, once it's fitted, I will use it as my base, and then I will alter it however I need in the future. I tend to do that a lot, especially with truly Victorian patterns, because her seam lines are spot on and the fit is often really great for those, so they often just need, I just alter them when I want to do a different detail or whatever. What is my favorite era to wear? I would have to say the late 1860s into the early 1870s. That transition you get where you go from the really full crinolines into the bustle, where it's basically, okay, so we're going to shrink down our hoop skirt a little bit, but then we're going to stick a bustle on top of it. That is my favorite. It's just floofy and crazy, and you have that Victorian aesthetic of trim it and then trim it again. So you can go all kinds of crazy with that, and it's just so much fun to wear. Favorite to make? I don't really have one specific thing that is absolutely my favorite to make. I will make something, and if I don't enjoy it, I'm just less likely to make something from that era again. But I don't really have a specific favorite to make. All right, what is one thing we don't know about you? I am southpaw, left-handed all the way. And despite being left-handed, I am right-footed. So whenever I'm using my sewing machine, I use my right foot for the pedals. And one bonus thing you don't know about me, this is my second time recording this video, because the first time I recorded it, it turned out to be 45 minutes long, and yeah, nobody's gonna watch that. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. I have plenty of plans for future videos that I want to make. I want to do some hair tutorials and things, because I've spent a lot of time figuring out what works with my hair, and I know I'm not the only one with the texture that I have. So I would like to be able to share that. And there are some other little random skills and tidbits I would like to share as well, including some knitting and crocheting from original Victorian patterns, which I'm working on as well. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you liked it enough to consider subscribing. Hopefully it won't take me too long to get my next video up, but part of it depends on how long it takes for some of the supplies I ordered to come in the mail. So thank you guys for watching.